Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am an M1 at Vanderbilt Medical School. There's somebody moving right outside my window, but I used to care, but I can't right now. I have a schedule and this needs to get done. So anyway, in this video, I want to talk about what a typical week for a medical student schedule-wise looks like. So about how many hours am I spending in class, about how many hours am I studying. So really, I'm just gonna take you day by day through my schedule for next week. I am very, very early on in my medical school career, so there's some things that I'm not doing quite yet, and there's some things that are variable week to week. So this is just a general overview, but I will try to tell you where the nuances are. So like, where might I be doing something else? Where will I be doing something else in the next couple of weeks? And this might look different for different blocks at Vanderbilt. So if you're not familiar with Vanderbilt's curriculum, I don't expect you to be. I am not either. There's different blocks. Right now we're in our first science block, which is called Human Blueprint and Architecture. So this is just kind of what the first block looks like. I have a handy dandy cheat sheet that looks a lot like this. To start with, I like to get up at 4:30 in the morning, which is I am getting up super early. I'm on that Marky Mark. Mark Wahlberg gets up super early. He's my inspiration. But mostly because I have to leave my house pretty early because I drive to the city. I live a little bit outside of the city, so it takes me quite a bit to get to class. I leave about an hour before I need to be anywhere. So that takes up a significant portion of my morning, but I'm more productive in the morning. So I get up at 4:30 and I leave my house most times either 6:30 or 7, just depending on the day, which I'll tell you about. That means that from 4:30 in the morning till about 9:30 at night, I'm awake, which gives me a 7-hour sleeping window, which is not enough, but it's what I am working with, and I will not go lower than that. That's a non-negotiable. Okay, so on Mondays at Vanderbilt, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you have this thing called CBL, which is case-based learning. Basically, you get a case with all of the details, the family history, patient history, chief complaint, blood work, imaging, anything that's relevant, and you try to figure out what's going on. And then from there, you kind of like teach yourself the relevant concepts of that disease, which is awesome. And I love CBL. It's probably my favorite part of the curriculum so far. That happens because of coronavirus. We're staggered. We're in staggered groups. So I got the early group. So we meet from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The other group has to be there at 7:50 to 9:50. So from 7:30 to 9:30, I'm in CBL. And then we usually hang out a little bit after and kind of make a game plan for what we're gonna do for the rest of the week, because it is kind of like dependent on what you do each day. So from about 7:30 to 10 in the morning, I'm in CBL. From 10 to noon this week, we have a histology and pathology lecture. So that's a 2-hour lecture. And then we're done for the day at noon on Monday, which means that afternoon, I'll probably stick around the library at EBL, or I will come home and get a lift in, and then I'll study a little bit in the evening. I have been trying really hard to like hang out with friends and make friends responsibly with coronavirus. I have a little group of people, my quarantine, I guess you could say, that I like to do stuff with. Tuesday, we start at 8 in the morning, so from 8 to 10. Again, I'm getting up at 4:30, so that means from about like 5 to 7 in the morning. When I leave for class at 7, that's when I'm either doing stuff or getting ready. So then from 8 to 10, we have a tissue and pathology lab. From 10 to noon, we have a lecture. And then from 1 to 3, normally we have this thing called CELA, which is basically where you practice clinical skills with standardized patients. And so last week we did blood pressure. And you're not there the whole time because Corona, you have a 30-minute window. And so that window is anytime between 1 and 3. This week, we don't have CELA because we're doing other things. So this week we do get done at noon on Tuesday, which is nice because last week I think I got done at 3, which is, it's different. The 3 hours makes a big difference when you're going to bed at 9:30. So Wednesday, moving on to Wednesday, again, we have CBL 7:30 to 9:30, 7:30 to 10, depending on how much game planning we do. 10 to noon, this week we start our gross anatomy lab. So from 10 to noon, we're in the lab. From noon to 1, we have a lunch break. And then from 1 to 3, we're back in the lab. So Wednesday's gonna be a little bit of a long day. And then within the next couple of weeks, we're going to start in clinic. And so each college at Vanderbilt has a clinic day. I'm in Gabby and my clinic day is Wednesday. So I will be in clinic until 5 o'clock on Wednesdays when we start, or a little after 5, but like around 5 o'clock on Wednesdays on my clinic day. That will be coming up in the future, but that's not happening this week. Within the next couple weeks though, I think in August, we do start clinic, so that'll be interesting. So then moving on to Thursday, 8 to 10, we have tissue path lab, 10 to noon, we have lecture, and then normally I think on Thursdays, we have this thing called team-based learning. I don't think it's every week, but for the last 2 weeks, we've had team-based learning Thursday mornings from 8 to 10, but this week we do have a lab, which is nice because TBL is my least favorite part of the curriculum. Don't tell anybody. I'm sorry, Vanderbilt. It's not my favorite. Anyway, so we have lecture from 10 to noon, and then this week we have clinical office hours, which is basically, I was telling you on Tuesday, I do CELA. There's no CELA this week, but you can go in from noon to 1 to practice some clinical skills. So we are learning how to take patient history, which is a lot more complicated than one might think. There's like a million questions that you need to take in a patient interview. I will probably go to part of the clinical office hours. That's during lunch. And then from 1 to 2, we have our gross anatomy lab on Thursday. So we're done around 2 o'clock on Thursday, which is nice. And then Friday, I don't know who voted on this, but we go all day Friday. I am on campus from like 7 in the morning till 5 at night, which is a 10-hour learning day for me. So that's really fun. So 7:30 to 9:30 CBL, mostly 7:30 to 10. And then 10 to noon, we have what's called learning communities, which is with your college. So right now we're learning about leadership and different ways that we can be more effective leaders in medicine. And so that I hesitate to say that we're learning soft skills in learning communities, but that's kind of what we're doing. Professional skills that are important for like being a well-rounded physician we learn in learning communities, and that's a 2-hour section every Friday from 10 to noon. And so that happens, and then we have a break from noon to 1 for lunch, and then from 1 to 3 we have lectures, and then from 3 to 5 we have what's called PDX, or physical diagnosis. And so that is where we are learning, we learn blood pressure and the auscultatory gap and like taking a patient history and heart sounds and all those sorts of things, which we are applying in CELA, and then we will be applying in our clinic as soon as we start. So that's a typical week as far as like scheduled class goes. And then every weekend so far, we have had 3 quizzes. So we have a PDX quiz. So we have a quiz over physical diagnosis practices, and then we have quiz over lecture, and then we have an essay about the concepts or the diseases that we learned about in CBL. So it's Saturday. I just finished all of my quizzes. It's about 1 o'clock. Last week I finished around 5 p.m. This is only the second week of them, so I'm already doing a little bit better managing my time and like figuring out how much I need to study, what I need to study, what's important, what's not. That comes with time, and I'm sure that as time passes, I will get better at it because I'm not an expert yet. It's definitely an adjustment. I didn't think I was going to have to change my study habits from undergrad because I was like, I know how to study, like med school is going to be fine. You gotta adapt. I think most of the adaptation is mindset of like, how in-depth can you know everything? And in undergrad, you're like, I can learn this and I can study for weeks on this. Whereas in med school, it's like you just covered 2 months of undergrad information in 1 week. So you can't know it all, and you need to know like how to discern what's the most important and how to apply that in a very short amount of time. So welcome to med school. That's super fun. So as far as how much I study a day, I would say I aim to study like 2 or 3 hours a day outside of class, which is feasible for some of the days and not feasible for some of the other days. It doesn't happen every day. Sometimes it's just one. Sometimes I'm exhausted. I should study more. I still have a pre-med mindset, but I'm doing well on my quizzes so far, and I'm doing fine on CBL, and I'm keeping up with the material. That could change, and I will have to adapt, and as we get closer to exam time, maybe that will change, but trying to do like 2 to 3 hours of deep work a day. Sometimes it happens, sometimes doesn't, like I was saying, but so far I feel like I have, I'm not sure if I have more time than I did in undergrad. My weekends are definitely freer, it feels like, because we haven't really started new material. I could study a couple more hours today because now that I know a little bit more how to study for quizzes, I can like enjoy my Saturday and like clean my apartment, but I also might be able to do some review. So I will let you know as it progresses. Obviously, we just finished our like 3rd week of medical school, so so it's not like I'm an expert, but this is kind of my experience right now. And if you are looking forward to medical school, this is kind of what you can expect, at least at Vanderbilt, maybe at other schools, for your first month of med school to look like. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a little thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to follow along with my journey. And if you have any specific questions or recommendations for videos, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.